Hey everyone, thanks for being here with me. Yesterday, in honor of Earth Day, I posted what, quite frankly, is a bit of a disaster that I really felt was important that we bring our attention to. And the reason for that is that I believe that we are so ingenious, we are so creative, that there are many problems in this world that we already have the solutions for. And so I've actually started a series on YouTube about real life solutions. And so this video will be added there. But I wanted to get to you because I'm so grateful for all of you on many of my different pages who came forward with some great suggestions. So just in case you haven't seen the posting, it was about this, how do I describe it? It is literally a graveyard in the Atacama desert in Chile, where all of your old fast fashion clothing goes. Now you might be saying, wait a second, I donate all of that to lots of different organizations. Well, here's the thing. Fast fashion has become such a problem that all of the clothes that you and I both donate, thinking that they're going to areas in the world where they're needed, they are not. They are getting shipped to this desert. And if you haven't seen these photos, go ahead to any of my pages. You can go to Marcy Newman. You can go to HeartShift Coach, Self-Love and Heart Shifts, the High Vibe Tribe, any of those pages, and you will see a photo of this graveyard for clothing. And it's appalling. It is becoming this never-ending desert unto itself. And you see piles and piles, and just as far as the eye can see is clothing that is not being used or utilized for anything. So what that means is that the earth then has to break down these clothes and reabsorb them into the earth. Well, that's great, right? We certainly know that she has this incredible power to do this. How she manages all of it, I have no idea. But somehow she manages to repossess so much of what we throw away. Well, the issue here is that the quantities of clothing that are being dumped in this desert is far greater than what can be broken down and reabsorbed. So it just sits there. And of course, as it's sitting there trying to decompose, it is having such an impact on the entire ecosystem, right? So we have to start to address issues like this from a place that we are the ones who are creating this issue. So we also are the ones who have the capability of also creating solutions. And that's really what I want to talk about. So as you look at this photo and you see miles and miles and miles of this clothing, so much of it is the result of this new industry of clothing, which is called fast fashion. It is made for the purpose of being disposable. Fast fashion, trendy stuff that you know that you're buying just to wear 2 or 3 times and then you're throwing it in the garbage, or you put it in the what you believe is going to be distributed to other people around the world. This fast fashion is an issue that's being born inside of us. We are the ones creating this market, and we are creating a fashion industry that then creates fashion, clothing, to be consumed by us without the care or the longevity that clothing needs to have. So in other words, I'm certainly that you remember, being a child and, either handing your clothing down to younger siblings or other family members, or being the recipient of those clothes. And it's because they were made to last. They were made to be handed down. And when things were, maybe ripped, they were mended so that someone could use them. So there's a mindset here that we're dealing with. But from my perspective, it's actually a heart set. We have become disconnected from the clothing that we're wearing or the message that we are really perpetrating right out into the world. And so I just wanted to call your attention to just a couple of statistics, and then I want to go into some of the creative solutions that some of you sent me, which are amazing. So I want to refresh your memory about how much water it takes for one new t-shirt. 650 gallons of water is necessary for the creation of one new t-shirt. One. Can you think of other reasons why we might want to utilize that water, particularly now, as water supplies are, having difficulty, right, in getting clean water to the people of the earth? Also, 650 gallons for one t-shirt, but you might say the water footprint for just 1 pound of cotton is 1,320 gallons for 1 pound of cotton. That's how much water it takes from the beginning to the end of the creation of that 1 pound of cotton. Clearly, this is ludicrous. We have got to start to pay attention to this issue. Not to mention, of course, all of the human resources and other resources that go into the making of this clothing. So we must start to re-educate ourselves, number one. But number two, to really develop a new conscious awareness about the clothing that we are wearing and the clothing that we are purchasing and the clothing that we are passing on. So here are some of the things that were sent in to me. And again, I think these are really creative. Of course, the number one thing is we must stop consuming so much. Now, this probably is not great news for the fashion industry as it is today. But as we know, change is happening on every level, and we are very busy creating a brand new world. So this is part of that new world attitude. We must stop consuming. We must stop believing that we have to buy something new all the time. So, as we have seen, I'm sure you've seen in your towns, your cities, consignment shops are getting very popular. And consignment shops that are fashion-oriented are really becoming so much more socially acceptable because our heart set is understanding our impact on the earth. And it's our call to change. So number one, we need more consignment shops where the clothing that we no longer are using, but we know will be so appreciated by others is bought and sold on a very reasonable level. Okay? So we need more consignment shops. I remember in high school, my daughter came home and she had been buying her clothes by the pound. And I thought, wow. I mean, that was really such a level of awareness at the time where I never saw myself doing it, but I appreciated that she did it. Well, now I see myself doing it too. I'm very much of this heart set that I want to do whatever I can to reduce the waste of clothing. The next one that was sent in, clothing exchanges with friends. Now, I remember when I was living in Arizona and there were some young women from the University of Arizona who I loved so much, and they invited me to a clothing exchange. Now, what were the stipulations? You had to bring clothing, all in good repair, all ready to be exchanged, okay? And you had to come ready to have a great time because they had some bottles of wine, they had music playing, and it became such a fun event. It was a party, but the focus of it was exchanging clothing. So, it was all set up by sizes and lots of high fashion, some things not quite as high fashion. But at the end of the day, people really appreciated what other people brought. And I don't know about you, but when I know that there are going to be people looking at the clothing that I'm bringing, this was the funniest thing to me. I started to pick out my very best things, thinking about how someone else was going to love it as much as I did. How's that for raising your consciousness, actually wanting to share it with someone? When I realized what I was doing, I thought, oh my God, what an incredible opportunity this is. Because in actuality, you're gifting it. So dependent on how many things you brought, that was how many things you could take home with you. I also know of some others that did accessory parties. They would bring purses, pocketbooks, backpacks, costume jewelry, belts, that sort of thing. And it would be just for accessories. So much fun. You can bring, something that you bought at the first exchange, bring it over to the accessory exchange, and before you know it, you have a brand new outfit, and all it cost you was gifting something that you own to someone else. So that was wonderful. Somebody else wrote in about creating events for all ages. In other words, so the ones that I was involved in, basically women and young women, but mothers and children can create these exchanges. And by the way, it doesn't have to stop with clothing. I know, for instance, in Australia, they have a system where there's an actual toy exchange. And they bring toys, again, in good repair, clean, ready to be played with other children. They sanitize them and they exchange these toys. Let's see. This was a really good one, and I hope you all appreciate this and take it to heart. Find other ways of raising money. How many times have you seen, these organizations that do fundraising by selling T-shirts? Well, how many times are you going to wear that T-shirt that has the name of the organization on it, other than that day where you're attending their event? So we have to come up with more creative ways of raising funds, doing charitable events where we're not selling disposable clothing. or accessories that is just, sorry, for lack of a better term, just junk. If we're going to sell something for a charitable donation or a charitable organization, let's make it something that people will actually use. Make it something that's useful in the home. Let's see. Another one was encouraging exchanges within the schools. So sometimes schools have uniforms, for instance. Let there be an exchange, or let there be a donation where, there's a place where new students coming in can get uniforms. Let the school itself have these clothing exchanges so that if there are kids, for instance, that can't afford fast fashion, but of course they want to keep up with the trends, where they can shop without any fear of being judged or not seen as cool enough or having enough or being enough. Now this is for the fashion industry. It's a call for the fashion industry itself to reuse fashion, to recycle fabrics, to rework them. And maybe this is a call so that, and I'm just throwing this out there, you know how you can, where there are bottle collection companies, maybe we could do something with fashion where there are actual collection offices or whatever, and the fashion industry itself shops there. It's a call for creativity. It's a call for all of us to come together and find real life solutions for these issues. So if on every single level we are wearing clothing with the intention to pass it on, we are purchasing clothing with the intention for it to last so that someone can use it when we're finished, if we are mandating kids wear uniforms in schools, let's set up something so that they can exchange them when they need a different size. Let's start to really think about how we can impact the excess clothing that is being left to rot in this desert and many other places. If you have seen a landfill, you know that there is so much clothing in there because it cannot. The capacity to get all of this to the places where it's needed just isn't possible. There is so much of it. So I just wanted to share that with you because I thought they were great ideas. And I'm so grateful for those of you who had these ideas, and I'm asking you to really give this some thought, and let's put our heads together, let's put our hearts together, and continue the conversation. As soon as I get some more suggestions, I'm going to come back on, because every time we share these, we think of something new. So even if this conversation has inspired you, leave it in the comments below or DM me. Do something so that we together can find real life solutions for an issue that is impacting our entire world. Okay, so much love to you. I can't wait to come back and report exactly what you have thought of.